Hello everyone, I'm Jared Boyd, host of the Hash It Out Show. Today we are joined by a very special guest. This guy here has won many district championships. He's part of a 300 win club. He's a state championship coach, and he's back at the helm at Archbishopshaw as the head coach of the football team. Everyone, I present to you Coach Hank Tierney. Coach, thanks for doing the interview. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me. I've heard a lot about your show.
Thank you.
I'm very honored to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, sir. First things first, how does it feel to be back at Archbishopshaw?
I tell you, I'm truly enjoying it. I'm having a really good time. These are a great bunch of kids. The school is just runs like clockwork. Very structured school. Hold the kids accountable for their actions, and everything that goes on the school day makes it really easy for us to coach the kids, because when they come to us, they're used to doing things the right way and following instructions, and it's just been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
Did you ever see yourself coming back to Archbishopshaw?
No, it's crazy how it happened. I left, under a black cloud, so to speak. It was ugly. I didn't want to leave, and there was a lot of accusations on both sides, and make a long story short, I was basically fired. Okay, everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never ever wanted to leave Shaw. I've been there since 1977, so I've been there 25 years, and I had no plans to ever. Had turned down a whole lot of jobs, a lot of college jobs. Some head coaching jobs that would have paid me more money, whole deal. But I loved it here, and I had no intention of ever leaving. And it's life; things happen. So I got shown the door, and it was my fault. I'll take some blame. And so I went and I left. And when I walked out the door, the last day I was back, my stuff here, and I remember being very emotional and saying, I never thought this was going to happen. Never thought it was going to come to this. And then I walked out, got my car, and never looked back. And then from the time that I left in 2002 to the time I was hired as the head coach in February, I'd only been back here one time. And that one time I came back, Mark Williams made me an honorary alumnus. That was the only time I've been back in 21 years. And I lived in Marrero for 9 years after that, so I passed Shaw every day.
Yes, indeed.
Going to West Chapel, so it wasn't easy for me. But I never thought I'd be back, and it's funny how life works.
Right.
God has a plan for all of us, and it's just weird, because a lot of places I thought I would end up maybe, but not here. But here I am.
Wow. You had just finished competing for a state championship in Ponchatoula. Word was out that you wanted to retire. Father Steve, a guy you worked with years ago here at Shaw, calls you and asked you to come back to be the head coach. What thoughts were going through your mind?
And the backdrop of that whole thing is, I told Ponchatoula in August that this was going to be my last year. I left here, and I actually taught 20 years in the public school system, 6 at West Jeff, 14 at Ponchatoula, and I bought some retirement years, so I was actually going to retire, 30-year retirement. I was 70 years old, just made 70 years old, or made 70 last year, and I was retired. Everybody at Ponchatoula knew it, everybody knew it, the kids knew it. And I deliberately waited because we had a great team. Thought we could win the state championship. We had a really good team, kids who played the sophomores. And we got to the Dome, and we played a very good Zachary team who lost. And I remember after the game, you had to do a press conference in the Dome.
Right.
The same question you just asked me, they asked me, are you done? And I said right there, in front of everybody, I'm done. And then they asked each of the 4 kids that were there representing Ponchatoula, about me retiring and all, and there was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was over with. And I was going to finish the school year and try to get to Coach Hyde that I wanted to hire, Trey Willie, who ended up getting the job. I was happy about that. And I was just watching games, laying on the sofa, enjoying life.
Yeah.
And still had to teach to May, but no coaching. And Tierney was the first person to contact me, but this was at the end of December. And he was saying, are you interested? And I was saying no. Well, known to me, he'd been talking to my wife, who has been on this journey with me the entire time.
Correct.
And my wife was telling him, I wouldn't stop it from happening, but he's not coaching anymore, he's done. So So Father Steve called, just like you said, it was 2 days after New Year's. And he said, I want to come talk to you. And I'm serious, Jared, when I tell you, I thought he was coming to pick my brain about hiring a coach. Because there was a lot of names out there, a lot of my ex-players.
Right.
You know, Malta Scovel's name was mentioned, a bunch of guys. And that's really what I thought he wanted. And when he came, and Doug told me he was driving him because he'd never been a box tour. My wife cooked for him, and we were just sitting down, we were thinking, we were going to talk about, the future of Shaw.
Yeah.
And he basically said, I'm here to offer you a job. And I was like, Father, well, thank you, but no thank you. I'm not, I really have no interest. It just, this is what I say, what I have to say. And it was really a good package. It was a good plan. It was good for me. I don't have any classes.
Good.
But I was going to do some development work, help raise money, try to help the enrollment, all these different things that, in addition to coaching football, that keep me busy during the day, which I'm a kind of guy that likes to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no, but when he left, I still didn't think I wanted to do it because I knew what a commitment was going to be, and we lived in Ponchatoula. A lot of people were moving. So after she left, I told her after he left, so what you think? She said, well, she said, it's a good deal. She said, I'm not moving, but if you want to do it, you're going to be miserable. Come around when you don't have nothing to do during the day, you're going to be terribly bored. You're going to miss it. You're talking about taking a year off and then going to be a coordinator for somebody, you're going to be miserable. You need to think about it. So, thought about it. And now Father Steve and I go back to when he was Brother Steve in the late 80s. And he was a big fan of the football team, big fan of the sports, and I really liked him. He's a charismatic guy,
Yes, he is.
dynamic guy. I mean, he's got the school going in the right direction. And I was interested because he had me fired up when he left, and I was like, wow. And I just had a couple of demands. I wanted to be on the Heisman coaches that I had worked with previously. And I wanted to know, just basically about the commitment to football. And he was like, yes, 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 and yes, And make a long story short, it took about a week and a half to decide. And then everything I asked him to do, he did. And then I believe formally accepted it. And then I think they announced it like a day in January. And we've been running since then, running uphill and fighting battles and trying to get better. And but it's really been enjoyable. But the thing that I really want people to know is that I truly had no intention of coaching again, and had absolutely no thoughts that Shaw might be open, and they might be interested in me. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I was still persona non grata,
Yeah.
And I talked to them, Mark Williams and I, my friend I coached Mark Williams, and he coached with me.
Mm-hmm.
But, never thought it would even remotely happen. So when it happened, it was like, wow.
Yes, indeed. Coach, why did you decide to become a head coach?
Well, it's a funny story. I came here to coach basketball. Okay, I was trying to get a job, a teaching job in high school, and I was teaching at a new Catholic grammar school in Gretna, St. Joseph, just had a job. And I became very close with Joe Zimmerman, who the stadium was named after, who was my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have the little flag football tournament here and a little basketball tournament. I would come every year. And I got to be close with Joe Zimmerman, and he kept telling me, man, I want to hire you. I want to hire you. And then he brought me in to talk to the principal, Father Blake all the time, and Mr. Gerald DeLuca was the assistant principal, maybe. And they offered me a teaching job. And of course, I was a certified teacher, and I wanted to coach in high school, but I mainly wanted to coach basketball.
Yeah.
And I came here with the intentions of being a basketball coach. Back then, which is different from now, everybody coached everything.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s, I coached football, basketball, and baseball for 6 years. Just went from one sport to the other. Days before year-round, weight training, and all that stuff. So what really happened was Joe Zimmerman took me under his wing. And I was fortunate in the sense that they won a district championship the first year I was here. Then he lost his entire coaching staff for various reasons. Most of them I had jobs. And then all of a sudden I went from being the defensive back coach to being the defensive coordinator in 1 year. And when I tell you I was not ready, I was not ready. But Joe Zimmerman said, look, we're gonna go get you ready. So he took me on this work, went to clinics, went to visit colleges, and he got me passionate about football like he was passionate.
Yeah.
And I served as his defense coordinator for 5 years. And we couple of district championships, and then lo and behold, he went to De La Salle. And I didn't, I was trying to tell him not to leave. We're going to be really good next year. And he was like, man, I don't know, I just don't feel good about this place, I'm going to leave. Well, I really never thought I was going to get the job. I was a 6-year coach with no head coaching experience. And I really think Shaw was a very attractive job. They were winning. And so basically, the priest said you could interview. And I figured that they'd opened it up to a lot of quality head coaches. I wouldn't get it. So I basically had a little power play. I said, well, either hire me tomorrow or I'm going to De La Salle.
Yeah.
And they basically told me, well, you either pack the bags, you're going to De La Salle. So I was going to De La Salle with Joe. And then the director, Father Pat Angelucci, who ended up being a lifelong friend, who actually married my wife and I, he called me in the office and said, you think you're ready to handle this? I said, Father, if I wouldn't have applied, if I didn't think so. And in 1983, named me the head coach, 32 years old, and I thought I knew I had all the answers. And I didn't. I learned the whole way, but it kind of grabbed hold of me, the coaching part of it, and I enjoyed it. And won the district championship the first year. Went 9-1. Then we suffered a little bit, but then I made the best coaching decision of my life. I took a young man by the name of Mickey Joseph, and I made him a quarterback. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
We won him and his brother quarterback the next 5 years. We won 50 games, and never went back.
You speak highly of Joe Zimmerman. How has he been very important in your life outside of football?
My mentor. Everything he did as a football coach, I copied. The way he practiced, the way he struck. He was probably the most organized person I've ever been around. And he was his whole theory was organization. You can learn X's and O's, but you gotta be organized. You can't waste practice time. You gotta be one step ahead. You can't let the kids stand around the practice field. In the off season, you gotta organize the weight room. You gotta organize the weight program. And for 6 years, I just studied under him, and he taught me how to run a program. And he started this program when they had 100 kids. When they went 0-10 for 4 years, so he'd been through the bad times and he built it to the good times, which is why the stadium was named after him, and deservedly so. And so when he left, I was ready because he had prepared me to be ready. And he really left the bad time because we had really good players coming. I was begging him not to leave because I didn't know if I was ready to do this. And we had 3 kids signed with LSU off that team, which is amazing,
exactly.
And so he left me and we went 9-1, then we went 5-5, then we won 4 straight district championships, and we've been winning, or we won then pretty much all the way to our left. I don't think we ever had won less than 8 games, after that.
Right.
And it sure was a place to go, I mean, the West Bank, you was on the West Bank, Shaw was called.
You're right, exactly, that's right.
And we had everybody wanting to come here, and we had, I'm be the first to tell you, we had a lot of really good players, and we tried to develop them as best we could, and because we were winning, they were coming, and we were getting kids signed by the colleges, so they were coming even more. And we hope to, to be able to get back, to somewhat to that status, because it was a golden era of shawfootball in the 80s and the 90s. And then honestly, I left there some down years, but then, Scott Mansfield got. I mean, your brothers played on three teams that went to the Dome, straight runner-ups, so they had a little down spurt, and they got it rolling again, but then it just kind of fell apart. And I think there's a number of reasons, not blaming anybody. The enrollment fell, and it's a tough place. We had a lot of kids going to the East Bank, which never happened.
That's correct. Never. That's right.
If you'd have told me in the 80s and 90s a kid was going to Rome, we'd have said, no, that's not happening.
Right.
But it's happening now, and that's something we got to stop. And how do you stop that? By winning.
That's it.
You promote your school academically, which is a great school, and you win. And fortunately, we've been winning this year. So had a great open house, and I thought we were going to have a jump in enrollment last year, and we think we're going to have another jump in enrollment this year. So everything is full speed ahead here.
First year back, your team went 8-2. Talk about how you were able to change the culture with this football team, because they've been struggling for years to get back to being relevant.
Sure. I'm gonna say this, and I coached Tommy Connors. I coached Tommy in 8th grade, and Tommy left me good players. I mean, they were good players.
Yeah.
And you know, and they worked hard. You know, they knew how to work. You know, and I inherited kids who were, you know, ready to win. And I'm not going to take, what I'm going to only take credit for is that we just continue to really work them really hard. But in all honesty, with the enrollment that Shaw has, moving down to 4A was the best thing that could have ever happened. I mean, they were playing against Brother Martin, and listen, I was in Ponchatoula.
Right.
We had 2,400 students. You know, there wasn't no secret why we went to the Dome. When you have 1,300 balls to pick from, you know, you got to have a chance to have really good players.
Yes.
And that's how it was when we had 9 hard bars back in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now you had 300, you know, and you're playing against Brother Martin and Jesuit with 1,300. I mean, you destined to fail.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who was coaching. You know, so I think the fact that we inherited good players, we went down to 4A, and we put the kids through a really hard spring and summer, prepare them, and then we opened with 2 out of 3 losses against 2 really good teams. And the big thing is that we didn't lose the kids. You know, we told them, hang on, man, you know, it's gonna be bad. We told them it's gonna be bad, but it's gonna get better. And then we jumped into district, and it wasn't a great district, just being honest, it wasn't a great district. And we hit a stride, and our really good players started playing really good, and the kids got full of confidence, and you know, now they think they can beat anybody. I mean, they're confident, they're practicing great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a feeling in the school of success, you know, and that permeates through the whole community. I mean, I'm expecting a gigantic crowd. You know, now of course a lot of them want to see Jubilee, you know. I hope they ain't around for the game. But I think it's gonna be a great crowd. And you know, the other thing, and you know this, when you win, people don't always see who you beat. You know, we weren't beating Jesuit, we weren't beating Curtis. You know, we were beating teams that we should beat, but we were beating them.
Right.
And we were beating them convincingly with big scores.
Yes.
You know, so now people know Shaw, they win, Shaw's back. You know?
Exactly.
And, you know, if we'd been in the Catholic League, you know, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. You know, but our goal is to grow the school, get bigger, and then one day get back in the Catholic League. We want to do that. I mean,
Definitely.
that's what I coached in. You know,
Right.
I coached in the Catholic League. You know, and we were one of the few Catholic schools back in the day who played John Curtis. Nobody wanted to play, we played. Yeah, we were playing, and then we played the Catholic League, and I enjoyed that. I really liked playing in the league, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're not ready to play the league. We really not. We need to play again. We won the middle to small 4A enrollments.
Yeah.
So we in no way ready to be in a 5A enrollment. Now, hopefully that'll happen, but we'll see.
This season, we won the district championship. First district championship since 2008.
Right.
Talk about how important that was.
You know, we stressed it, and we tried not to ever look ahead. But each week when we won, we'd say, you know, 3 more games, 2 more games. And we made a big deal out of winning the district championship. We did go to Belle Chase and beat a really good Belle Chase team at the time. They were playing good, they had a really good back. They extremely well coached. And we went to Belle Chase, a hostile environment, they had a huge crowd there, and we played the best game of the year. And when that happened that night, I said, our staff came back and said, we can win the district championship. We can win our last 3 games. Because we just kept getting better and better. And we have some outstanding individuals who are playing really good, led by, you know, David Kennedy, Mike Williams, and Jason Connell on offense are just playing lights out, you know. Mike Baumont has got the offensive line coming out, like really playing well. And look, we hard to move the ball in defense. Our defensive coaches have 11 guys playing really hard, you know, running to the ball. We big, we physical, you know, so we thought we could win a district championship, and then we did. And then, you know, now our goal is, we're not satisfied. You know, our immediate goal is to win the first playoff game that we've won around here in a long time. You know, and that's just like you said. It's been a long time since there's been a playoff win at all, much less a home playoff. I think they said it's been 14 years since it's been a home playoff game. You know, so we're all excited. There's a lot of excitement in the school, and you know, we're not satisfied with winning the district championship. You know, we're going to go into each game. We can win. We're going to prepare to win. And our goal is, like everybody else in the state, is to go to the dome.
That's right. You talk about the first playoff game ever here on campus.
Oh, yeah, on campus. That's right.
Yeah, at Joseph Marin Stadium. Speak about that for a second. I mean, this is gigantic
Well, I'm hoping first of all that Joe Zimmerman comes. I'm
Yeah.
hoping Coach Z comes. Now, of course, it's gonna be real cold Friday night, so I don't know if he'll be there. But it's huge because it's never been here, and when I first got here, it's funny, I'd walk out there and I just look at that stadium and I kind of be a little bit awe, because we practiced out there for 25 years.
Right.
That was our practice field. And just having your own stadium, and we used to always say, in the 80s and the 90s, if we'd have had a stadium, all roads would have led to Shaw on Friday night. They didn't have to close the West Bay Expressway. That's how many people would have been coming to them games if it was an on-campus stadium. And the excitement would have been out of control. And that's why we hope to get back to that. And then we hope Friday night is the launching point of a whole playoff game. And then that understood that's going to happen every year.
Yeah.
So get ready. We want to build a kind of program where that can happen every year.
I want to mention about the alumni coming back.
Okay.
It's been amazing to see so many alumni who support you. They followed you wherever you went, and they followed you here back at Shaw. And it's coming back to Shaw. You've had sponsors from everywhere, including myself last week.
That.
Yes, sir, definitely. And it's just amazing to see this, and to see the stadium to be packed like it was back in the glory days. West Jeff, yes, it's amazing. Talk about that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when I was like, I'm a very emotional guy, but I don't show it outwardly that much. But I'm very emotional. We played Acadiana last year, but it actually started in 2015. We played Eric. We had beat West Monroe at Ponchatoula, week 2, which is the biggest upset of the year.
Mm-hmm.
A wild card. We got to play playoffs, and West Monroe was number 1 in the state.
Yeah.
When they came to Ponchatoula, we beat them. We upset them. But the next week, we played Eric at West Jeff. And there were so many ex-players there, I couldn't believe it. And it kind of caught me then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, these guys, they didn't forget. They remembered you. They trying to come out and support you. Obviously, at one time, I meant something to them. And man, that was like 100. They were all sitting together. Now we lost. Eric beat us, and Eric went to the dome. But it just touched me. And so I knew. Because the way I left, you never know.
Right.
I knew there was still a lot of guys out there that were, Hank Tierney guys. And then last year we played Acadiana round 4. They had a whole section of shawfootball players sitting together. Like a whole section of them, like a set of stands. There was probably 100 of them sitting there. And every time we scored, they were going crazy. And then after the game, I barely had a chance to talk to my own team. I was taking pictures with them guys, and I was like, man, I said, it's just a special feel, And I was here for 25 years.
Yeah.
Coached a lot of players, and those guys now, they in the 40-year-old range, 45, they got kids. But the fact that they still took time out their day to come to Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and be in that game that night, really was special to me, really touching. And then I think, I've been told that had somewhat of an effect on Father Steve. Like, he was told, like, man,
right,
all these guys.
Yes.
And then they tell me Father Steve went to the state championship game, which I didn't know.
Wow.
And he went, he said he saw more Shaw people at the Ponchatoula State Championship game than he saw the Shaw games. So he was like, man, what's the deal? And at that time, they had not made a coaching change yet.
Right.
But I guess they were thinking about it. I don't know, because I didn't know none of this. I knew zero about this.
Yeah.
But it would later come out to me in January and February. He was just impressed by the number of alumni that still followed, my teams.
Right.
And that when it came down to making a decision in January and February, that kind of figured in. And I'm 7 years old. I'm thinking, what the hell he wants me for? I'm 70, I'm too old to do this. But I think he figured in it was just more than football. I think he thought it was a way to bring a lot of guys back together, get them back involved. And I have seen that now. There's been a lot of them, like, man, sometimes during the day I can't get no work done. They rolling in the head, West Bankers, they make themselves right at home.
Yeah.
They come in that front office and pop down. And I do my practice schedule, man. I start reminiscing and all.
Yeah.
But it's been enjoyable. They all been at the games, and I've seen them at the games. And right after the games to talk to them.
Right.
I think we have the alumni back, and we just have to continue to put a good product on the field. That's what we need to do. And we have to keep turning out quality kids, like we have been. Great, not only on that field, but in the classroom, and ready to go out into the world and represent our school based on the core values they got here. And that's our goal.
Definitely. I want to talk about the new playoff format.
Okay.
I prefer the old way, 1A through 5A, 32 teams in each division. We went to a split, and now they updated this new split.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I 100% agree with you. I'd rather go away. Now, honestly, at Ponchatoula, and just being purely selfish, it was better for Ponchatoula because, for example, last year, round 2 or round 3, I didn't see Rummel or Jesuit or Curtis. You know, I saw Lafayette, and then I saw Eric, and then I saw Ouachita Parish, which, you know, any of the teams I just mentioned could have beat us. I mean, 2 years ago when those kids were seniors with junior, Brother Martin did beat us in a regular season game. You know, so I know how good those teams were. So from that standpoint, being selfish, it was good for the public schools, and that's what happened. The public schools got a taste of that when they passed it. Nobody thought it was going to pass. And all of a sudden, you didn't have to worry about playing these powerhouse Catholic schools or private schools.
Yeah.
And the public schools always believe that they are recruited, they are all these advantages. And I would hear this every day at Ponchatoula. And then all of a sudden, you didn't have to play them. Play them in the regular season. We played St. Paul's in our district.
Yeah.
Once the playoffs started, when it really counted, you didn't play them. So I knew they were never going to vote it back because there's 50 private schools and there's 150 public schools.
Right.
So every time they voted, they were going to keep the split.
Yeah.
So I thought the people in charge, the powers in charge, did a very smart thing when they did the select deal this year. When all of a sudden they started making public schools select. Like they were looking for ways to make public schools select. Like every public school in Lafayette, including Acadiana and them, they all select now because they have academies in Lafayette. So you can choose what academy to go to. So in the hours at LHSA, that made them a select school. Jefferson Parish, they made all those schools select. Why? Because if I'm coming out of 8th grade, I can go to any Jefferson Parish school. I got to sit out here, but I can live in Marrero and go to East Jefferson. I sit out, but I still am able to do that. So the eyes of LH, okay, we're going to make all of those schools select. You know, so now it's not such a unlevel, not level playing field anymore because now Jefferson's going to play Acadiana and these select schools are playing these public schools. So what I think has happened is the public schools are saying, well, they're going to do this. Let's just go back to like it used to be. Let's just put everybody together, like you said. And I think that's going to happen in a year. I think in 1 year, I believe we're going to be back like we were. You know, like for example, Riverdale.
Yeah.
Who did they play last week?
Acadiana.
Yeah. Okay. And look, the boy at Riverdale's daddy coached me for 10 years. I showed Richard Walker.
Okay.
Well, Acadiana guy, him and I are friends. We used to play every year. The players had always beat us. We finally beat him. He called me Saturday morning, 2 Saturdays ago. He said, "Man, I learned about this school. Tell me about it." He was like all nervous. I said, "Who?" He said, "Riverdale." I said, "Well, I don't think you have too much to worry about, you know." But that's not level.
Yeah.
That's not level.
Right.
So I think the private school, I mean, the public schools are going to say, well, if we're going to do it like this, there's so many public schools, I think it was like 60 of them are going to be made select schools. Why have 8 divisions? Let's just put everybody back together like it used to be.
I agree.
And I think a year from now, and I personally think whoever came up with that way to do this was very smart. Because I think that's the only way they were going to get everybody back together. And I think it's going to happen. Now, they can't do it this year. They have to wait 1 more year.
Okay.
And you know what else is not fair? Like Belchicks. Those guys are my buddies. Because they played 4A with us all year.
Right.
They had the 5A playoffs.
Exactly.
You know, they played
Westgate,
who made win 5A, you know.
That's right.
You know, they played slight at us with it. I asked Baltimore about Westgate. He said Westgate's been any team we played all year.
Yeah.
So how is that fair? You know, because they had a little bit higher enrollment than the other 4A teams. They bumped them up. And then I was with Linares Elphage at a banquet yesterday downtown. He's the head coach at Kennedy.
Right. They're 3A school.
And they playing it.
Right.
So that's not fair either.
Nah.
So I'm thinking if the public school principal's going to say, you know what? Let's just put everybody back together. Go by enrollment and put them on. And I do hope that happens.
I do too. The Livingston Wolves are coming to Archbishopshaw Friday night. What do you know about it?
You know, we went scouting Saturday night. Okay, they played at Joe Brown. I tell you what, I do know that Joe Brown's a great stadium.
It is.
Been there.
It is.
You know, when I coached playground ball 50 years ago, I coached in North Algiers, and we went there a couple of times. They just had a little regular playground stadium like everybody else, but it was a beautiful stadium with a turf field.
Yeah.
You know, I was very impressed with that. But I think they're similar to the Walkers and the Coxes and all. You know, they've won 9 games, you know, so they play with a lot of confidence. They have some really good athletes. They have a really good scheme on offense. And, you know, we're not good enough to look past anybody.
Right.
You know, everybody's thinking, oh, no. You know, we focus on limiting anybody that's won 9 games and anybody that believes they can win, because that's how we are. You know, we believe we can win, so they start winning. If we look past them, you know, we'll be in trouble.
That's right.
They coming over here, and they coming over here thinking they can win.
That's right.
With really good athletes and a really good scheme. The head coach played at St. Paul, and he played at Carr, and he coached at St. Paul. So he's been played in and coached in great programs. So he's gonna have ready to play. You know, so you know, we're looking forward to we'll have a great effort, but I'm looking forward to a great environment. You know, I think we're gonna have a lot of people there, and I just hope we can give a good account of ourselves. And you know, like we mentioned, you know, first home playoff game on campus ever.
Yes.
And in 14 years, so we're certainly excited about that.
You mentioned about the enrollment.
Okay.
It has increased. With that being said, why should parents want to send their kids to Archbishopshaw?
And I'm gonna tell you the first thing, and 22 years ago, this would have been about the third thing I would have said, not on purpose. 22 years ago, I would have said, man, you want your son to play college football? Send me, you know. But I'm not gonna say that now. I'm gonna say, first of all, it is a tremendous Christian environment for your son to come to school in. It is a school with great spiritual growth. Like we go to mass about every 2 weeks. There's always services for the kids. The spirit here, the kids really get along. You know, there's a spirit of togetherness. There's a spirit of caring. I mean, you know, I'm a brag to say I've been told there hadn't been a fight here in 8 years, and that's a great thing.
That's a wonderful
That's
thing.
a great thing.
Yes.
You know, I was at a school, and I was at several schools where, unfortunately, there was a lot of fights, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
You know, and they had a lot of wonderful people working at the schools, but you know, when you send your kid to Archbishopshaw, when you leave him off in the morning, you know he is going to be in an environment that is safe, okay, and in a great learning environment. Our tight end got a 35 on ACT, you know, and that's the best you can make is 36.
That's correct.
He got a 35, okay, and we have a bunch of 30 plus kids. You know, I think the average of the football team going into the season was like 3.2. So they're going to come here and be in a tremendous academic situation. They're going to be in a spiritual environment that's safe, okay? And they're going to be taught by teachers who genuinely care for them. I mean, it's really a good place to stay. When I first came here, I was walking in the halls, I was just hired. I was kind of just, because there's buildings up or here and there, I wanted here, but I was just walking around. I was like, man, is this a holiday? There wasn't nobody in the halls. I mean, it was quiet, teachers were teaching, it was like just, you know, and public schools are public schools. I don't mean it bad, but there's a lot of kids. You know, there's always something going on. Man, here it was like, and the bell rang, and then the kids came out.
Come out.
Yeah, the bell rang again, they all went in, you know. And at lunch, you walking around at lunch, they all sitting at the tables, and some of them are playing board games, and some of them are playing that little ball game they play.
Yeah.
It's really a good environment to send your son to school. Like, he's gonna be safe, he's gonna be cared for, he's gonna be loved, and then if he wants to play athletics, we're the only school in the New Orleans metropolitan area that got their own football stadium.
That's right.
Their own baseball stadium.
Yep.
And a great gymnasium. You know, and our wrestling team was a state runner-up last year. We have a fabulous wrestling team. You know, so it's a no-brainer to me. If you're on the West Bank, you know, and you're looking for a great place to send your son, here we are.
Definitely. Coach, I'll get you out of here on this one. What's the most important goal you want to accomplish for all of your players?
You know, I want our players, when they're finished playing, I used to tell the Ponchatoula kids and West Jeff kids here, I want them to be able to look back on their experience and say that Coach Hank did not just prepare me to be the best football player I could be. He did not just do that. And that's huge to me, that he helped prepare me for life. If the only thing I ever did was make a kid a better football player, then I failed. Because, you know, football is like life. There's a lot that goes on in it. You know, trials and tribulations, getting knocked down, getting back up, you know, not playing, being second string, learn how to deal with that. losing tough games. You know, all these different things that can happen in football that are not success stories teaches you to deal with adversity. And life is the same way.
That's right.
And we talk to them all the time about that. You know, you can't be successful in everything you do every day. There's going to be pitfalls in life. And the one thing that I'm hoping is they're going to look back and say, it was a great experience. But in everything that we did in the football program, we were held accountable and we would try to talk to do the right thing. And that's it. If we can do that, then I'm successful as a coach. Yeah, do I want to win? Of course. You know, would I love to go back to the dome? Absolutely.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, if we have 13 seniors, you know, and next year we're going to have 24 seniors. If they look back and say it was a great experience because I became a better person, I became a better man, then my coaches and I have done a good job. And before we leave, let me also want to say what a great coaching staff I have. I give way too much credit, you know, for all time I get way too much credit. You know, I was able to bring in the best offensive line coach I've ever been around, Mike Baumont, who was my offensive line coach 22 years ago.
Taught me algebra.
Right, okay, I taught you algebra, and you know a good teacher as well.
Yes, sir.
And then Frank Gallo was a very successful coach at East Jefferson. Okay, was able to bring him in. Tierney Miller, who coaches our receivers, was an all-metro player for me here. And Coach Willis at West Jeff. Now on defense, both Chad, your brother Chad, Abort, and Christian Lacey were great players here who were Catholic school kids in elementary and high school, and they're all living, breathing examples of a Shaw product.
Yeah.
You know, they relate to the kids and they're great football coaches. You know, so it's win-win with our coaching staff, and that's what our kids see every day. You know, they see successful guys, some who went to Shaw, you know, successful coaches who have been successful both as teachers and as coaches. And that, like I said, that's so important. And that's the first thing I asked Coach Steve for any involvement to, you know, put together a good staff. And I feel like I got as good a staff as anybody anywhere, you know.
Yes, sir. Coach, I thank you for the
Hey,
interview.
man, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good luck Friday night. Let's get this win.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get this win, and then if we can get to win, then we headed to them Lafayette schools.
Hey, I'll be in Lake Charles for Thanksgiving. We have family out there, me and Chad, so I'll be out there and I'll make that quick drive.
Oh yeah, it's only about an hour.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
I got you. Hey, I enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.